Melpomeni, I'm going to call you. I like that name anyway. Tell us about yourself briefly.
Okay. My background's in music. I also do healing, not that much sound healing, but a little bit with the voice. So I did a little bit of training at the College of Psychic Studies for vocal sound healing, but it was also with a background in just straight healing, if you know what I mean. Just to kind of you just sort of get within someone's aura, get close to their body. Of course, you have to ask them if you can touch them now. They usually say yes. I've never had anyone that says, "Don't touch me." And you feel their energy, and you know what it's like. So yeah, and I hear things and I vocalize what I hear. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
So tell us about your artist identity.
Okay, so I have a project called Sophia Space Agency. I get a lot of my inspiration from space, as in like other planets, whether it's started through astrology, I guess, and just looking at the stars and living on a ship or being in the desert where you can just see how many stars there are and how beautiful it is. And there's always that attraction to the ancient forms of mysticism like astrology and things like that. So that's how it started. And then I did healing. And through that, I hear what I believe is sort of energies from, and my teacher has confirmed that it is energies that I'm hearing from sort of otherworldly, non-earthly vibrations.
Hello.
You got my attention.
Yeah,
I don't know that many people who can feel energy from alien beings, but I'm down with it. So no, I'm not making fun of it. You are quite an ethereal being. And we've been working together, right? I better let people know that we are currently working on spatializing some of your new album, and it's sounding incredible, by the way. I think. I mean, I'm really happy with it. Are you?
I'm loving it. I've fallen in love with spatial sound. It is literally another dimension.
Yeah.
And this is where we're going generally, I think.
I think you're right.
Partly as well.
Yeah, and yeah, of course. And so tell us about growing up. Where were you born? How on earth did you get to this point?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
All about you, this podcast.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Okay, so I grew up in Australia. And my family is Greek, so I had all that sort of ancient history to draw from. And I've become very interested in Australian Indigenous music, art, sound. It's something sort of in the long term that I'd like to explore more as well. The song lines, they're like a storytelling philosophy, I guess you could say, that the Indigenous Australians have. And their songs, some of them are just so beautiful. And I've immersed myself in them and I've been singing them. I'm not allowed to sing them publicly until I get permission from an elder. So that's in motion. And one day, maybe.
Amazing.
That's beautiful. There's a whole module we teach in our academy about the how sound is at the central axis of every single creation story across all religions and cultures, and we just love the Australian Aboriginal creation stories of how they song the earth into being and drew it in from the stars, and using the didgeridoo as a symbol for that, and you can mirror those stories all across ancient civilizations, and it's fascinating stuff. And it's very rare we get people in a contemporary modern day society drawing from that, and especially because that's part of your heritage as well, be very excited to hear these ancient ancestral songs when the time is right.
Yeah.
What did you think? Sorry, have you done any work with Aboriginal artists?
Not yet, because I need the permission first.
The
Not allowed to sing their songs publicly. I've done it in the next room on my own, and that's when I actually went into a trance. When I sang and sang for a few hours, and I literally went into a trance, and I was like, okay, so otherworldly is around. So yeah, I really want to get permission and do it one day.
And so you started in Australia. When did you move to, well, when did you leave Australia, and what happened after that?
Okay, so I actually moved to Greece. I was kind of chasing history, if you like, because my parents are Greek, so I wanted to know what all that was about. I felt very at home there. I felt welcome, and they're very sweet, even though I speak Greek with an English accent. I'm a Greek spoken language, but they're like, no, you're Greek, and I did feel that sort of. There's an energy there that I resonated with. So for the first time in my life, I felt, and the only time maybe, I felt very much like I was getting an energy from the land. I connected that connection, and that's grown into other things and exploring what Australia is about. Why did my soul choose to be born there? And that's unraveling some interesting stuff.
Well, go on.
So there's some lines.
That was the interesting stuff. That's what we.
Well, I was born on the crossroads of two songlines,
Right.
literally around the corner from where I grew up, which is interesting. And it was an area of what they call corroboree, which is like their festival. So they would come, people from different tribes, and have the equivalent of I don't know, Glastonbury or something, the people, and it was nearby. So, I was drawn to music all my life. So, and played it from a very young age. So things do piece together. And there's also a theory of I don't know if you've ever heard of some people say it's a fantasy civilization. Some people say that it really existed, like Atlantis or Lemuria.
We believe.
Yeah. Okay. So those people, some people say that happened in the Pacific, on the east coast of Australia. So it's kind of ballpark.
But these are common kind of folk history tropes, aren't they? I mean, they happen all around the world. Atlantis is the most common one, but it's very interesting because, of course, climate change is a hot topic, shall we say, at the moment. Oh, do you see what I did there?
Oh, good.
And I mean, really, the land over billions of years changes, and obviously we had the Pangea thing and all that. So I mean, it's not entirely unfeasible that entire cities could be buried somewhere deep in the ocean. I think personally. So when did you? So we have to. I know it's something that we can't avoid it. You were in the Medieval Babes.
I was, yes.
Not avoid. I don't think you should be ashamed of it. It was a noble enterprise. So popularizing, combining a bit of a glamour with interesting talent. So tell us about how you got involved with that.
Do you know, it's really strange, and I realize I'm speaking amongst friends here. I remember when I first moved to the UK, because I lived in Greece for about a year, and then I moved here. I was always going to live in London. That's another thing. I was just always going to live there. If you'd asked me when I was little, that I was going to live in, that's what I was always going to do. So anyway, when I moved here, I was flicking through the newspaper and I saw this group of guys. And I said to myself, how come I'm not in that band? It's a really strange thing to say, isn't it?
And how old were you at that point?
It's in my early 20s.
Wow.
And anyway, I just kept flicking over, didn't think about it again. And then years later, I was just out playing my stuff from my first album, my first solo album. And there was a few of them there at the gig, and they said, "Hey, why don't you join the Medieval Babes?" And so I joined, and it was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun, and very interesting old languages, like singing in lots of. They similarly are very interested in ancient history and these kind of witchy, mystical things.
Are you witchy?
Am I witchy? Yeah. Oh, new moon blessings to everybody.
Leo new moon, baby. Leo season is upon us.
There's something very disturbing happening here. I realize that all my female friends, including my wife, all claim to be witches.
Look at you.
You are. You don't know it yet.
I mean, Lansley my wife is always
You've all frozen.
it's like claiming ancient knowledge from the Irish timeline, and and folk remedies, and oh my god, it drives me mad. Your rubber raw potato on your
Oh no.
your carve and all that bollocks.
It's my internet, apparently. Should I move?
Oh, you
I
have
think she just froze there. Are you still with us?
Oh, now Martin's gone.
Oh. Well, I can see you, but I can hear you. But oh, you're back. It's fine.
Yeah, we're back now. About that. I think
It's fine. Don't worry. I've done much worse than this in 270 episodes.
Yeah, to continue what you were saying then, Martin, there's a real uprise in all of that kind of the ideology of turning to natural medicines, and so I think that Lanley's she's spot on, and I'm seeing more and more of it in my generation as well, in my circle of friends, all manifesting our deepest desires in a cosmic cauldron underneath the full moon.
I draw the line at things like hiding an onion in a sock under the bed, or it really is.
I've done that.
Do you know I had a wart once under my foot, and I could not get rid of it.
Yeah.
I could not get rid of it. I tried all the medicines. This thing just would not go, and I got it at the gym, because I went in the shower bare feet. I have never done that since. I always wear flip-flops now after this. But I saw this woman, and she said, "Look, give me some of your fingernail." I said, "Oh, okay, I'll try anything at this stage." So I gave her some of my fingernail, and she said, "Now, I'm going to put this into an apple, and you're going to take this apple, and in your back garden, you're going to bury it, and then your wart's going to go away." And I was like, then I swear the wart went away.
There's an entire comedy program in here. I'll tell you.
The Wisdom of the Witches.
Yeah, I love it. But I look back on my life and I think I've always been attracted to I've got two much older sisters, so obviously that's part of it. But I've always been attracted to hanging out with women as friends, but also the kind of spiritual energy of it. I realize now, because I come from Sheffield. Talking about stuff like this is tantamount to heresy in Sheffield. What are you bloody talking about? So right, so we're here in the story of your life. You moved to London. You joined the Medieval Babes. How long did that go on for? Yeah.
It was for a very long time, actually. We did a lot of touring, and I made one album when I was still in the band, and that kind of has female-centric sort of sound concepts, sampling, sewing instruments and things like that. And I left to kind of pursue my own thing because, time is limited and stuff. Right. And I've made a couple of albums. One is The Space, the one that we're working on, Martin.
Yeah. So what's the artwork like? Any idea?
Well, I've got a kind of a start. I've made a start, and it's words in the shape of planets, but I'd like to make it a bit more.
Oh, I've seen it. You showed me some stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a visual.
Very talented artist, I have to tell Cherubington. So, and a poet.
Yeah. So I've recently got quite a lot into poetry, but also visual poetry. So that is a kind of visual poetry thing where the words and the image are going together, where one kind of needs the other. It's really interesting, and there's a bit of a movement of that happening at the moment.
Yeah. Have you done any writing, Cherub Tim? I mean, not music. I mean, poetry.
Yeah, I love to write poems. That's how I kind of speak naturally. It flows out of me. And Tim, we've written a few songs together, and Tim's done lots of compositions over the years, haven't you, Tim?
I have actually. It's the one area where I use my phone digitally for putting notes, and I work out a sentence and I just keep my notes, and I have like hundreds of them, and
Me too. I do the same. Yeah.
file something quite interesting from it, I think. Yeah. No, it's a wonderful release and outlet. I mean, it's a bit like music for us, and it's a means of self-expression. I always find that if one's in a pain of the heart moment, it's a wonderful solace to be able to write, frankly. So, yeah.
Well, it would, the whole William Burroughs ketchup method thing was a big influence on what we did, and then we kind of formalized it into kind of we built a program which was like a word generator, a sentence generator, and 80% or 90% of what it would pump out was garbage, but the things that struck a chord were brilliant. It's like you can never imagine the counter. So yeah, I'm fascinated. Obviously, we're lyric writers as well as music. So, so yes. So you've left, and then what?
And then what? Then I made music. I'm doing healing as well. I have plans to keep making music for a very long time, and want to explore the Indigenous Australian thing, the Silk Road as well, which is my heritage.
Right.
In the northeast of Greece, and that's got a whole thing there. Maybe it's just an excuse to travel. No, but it's not.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Exploring, yeah. But I'm very interested in, the sound ritual side of things as well. Like on the Silk Road, there's like the whole Tibetan, the whole Buddhist thing that all happens. Things like Fuba. Have you heard of?
No.
It's like this chanting, this Tibetan chanting that releases negativity, and it's.
Do you know about this, Tim?
Intense.
I haven't heard of it, no.
Yeah, I'll play you some. I'll send you some.
Oh, right, yes, please.
Like, it's really out there. It's it doesn't sound like regular chants. It's like you're really taking blocks off the road with this stuff.
Really? Wow.
Just speaking about this, on one of our previous modules, we teach a module on mantra in our academy, and we were speaking about how we often, when people regurgitate mantras modern, they're done differently to the way they were maybe once traditionally done, which changes the vibrational code of how the tongue then taps the certain points on the roof of the mouth, which sends signals to the brain. So how important it is to actually chant the traditional expression of these mantras. So it would be great to hear this one you've got, because I bet you that will be, its origin form.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send you some.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because it also, there are cultures which have used mimicking of nature in the way they sing as well.
Yeah.
It's and Meredith Monk does teach this, because I've learned with her, and it sounds very otherworldly by the time it translates into a human voice. But it does, to someone who doesn't know where it came from, it sounds very strange, or it could be an otherworldly sound, because this is, what I hear in deep trance. But it's also quite practical and has been going on for a really, really long time. I think the Zulu culture uses this.
Yeah.
And they make some really interesting sounds when they sing, like clicking and some really beautiful harmonies.
Oh, I need to mention this to all of you, actually. I was lucky enough to be put in contact with this organization called Beating Heart, that they own the Africa's largest historical folk recordings of different tribes around Africa, and gave me access to it and said, well, their thing is to create new works out of, and repurpose. So what I might do, remind me, because I'm terrible memory. But if you remind me about it, I will contact the guy who runs Beating Heart and see if he'll allow me to share, because it's reasonably open source, but I need to ask him if I can share these with you, because I'm sure you'd find it inspirational.
How lucky are we to have access to this bank, this library of ancient song? It's phenomenal that we get access to this. I can't believe that that's landed on your lap, Martin. Wow.
Well, I know, I've forgot all about it, and we actually created this amazing piece of work out of it, which I can also share with you. Called
Yeah, please, I'd love to hear that.
Oh Yeah. And we used this chant from Zambia, I think it was, and created a trance track out of it. It was bloody amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. So what's your explain to me your current ambition for the album that you're making at the moment, that I'm lucky enough to be working with you on?
Well, I just like to take it as far as it can go. That's what I've asked the universe for, just as far as it can go. I'd love to hear it in a gallery. I'd love people to play it and to watch it. I think one of the things I really wanted to do with this was to make it visual and to include some dance. It goes really well with very slow movements. Because I did go to see a lot of ambient music, and it's very difficult to connect with it when all you really see, like traditionally when you see bands, you see them playing an instrument or you watch them doing something and it sort of engages or connects. Whereas watching someone behind a laptop, you don't really know what's happening or what they're doing, or, so if I'm trying to sort of give them something to connect with, if you know what I mean. So
do you dance? Do you perform?
Yeah, I have been doing some dancing to it. I'm not the greatest dancer in the world, but that doesn't matter.
You wear a costume? Do you wear a mask? Just let us into the world of performance.
That sounds, a mask sounds a great idea, but no, currently I don't wear a mask.
Right.
I
wear quite interesting makeup. I've seen you sent me some photos.
Yeah, I'm going for like another worldly sort of look. So yeah, I'm working on that.
You're a sonic navigator. That's what's happening here. That's why it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't feel like you're the best dancer in it, but I don't think it's about that. I think it's about trusting that the intention that you're setting through your music and the way that you seem to channel parallel realities or other astral planes, what you're actually doing is perhaps opening up portals for people. So maybe that's the key. The movement with the sound and the intention and the frequency is what opens the gateway for the listener or the viewer to move through, to access those deeper layers of their own truth through seeing you in your truth.
I think you, Melpomeni, is it, where do you put the accent on that?
For an English speaker, the easiest way to remember and to pronounce it is Melpomeni.
Well,
Melpomeni.
Melpomeni.
Because it's closer to the English language that way.
That sounds like music itself, doesn't it? Melpomeni.
Well, she was the muse of drama. So you'll find this interesting because you're into all this ancient stories and stuff. She's one of the 9 muses, and she became the muse of tragedy, i.e. drama. The Greek word for tragedy and song is the same. So the tragodia is tragedy. Tragoudi is song, even in modern Greek. So she started off as more of I think muse of melody maybe. And then became, as the myths progressed through history, became the muse of.
Wow. Oh,
Ben, you want to ask?
yeah, you must go and have a sonic massage with Cherub.
Oh, please. I'm loving
Down.
One of the best things ever.
Wow. I love all your crystal collection. I've only got a couple. I've got the triangles, actually. They're not going to remove them.
You've got the plant frequency behind you, which is infinitely as healing too. So they're all singing their own nature tune to you right now in perfect symphony.
I talk to them.
Quite right. I play crystal bowls to mine. I don't think there should be a sound healer out there that isn't sound healing their plants as well.
Also, I recently went to be on a panel at this the Tallinn Music Festival in Estonia, and which is an amazing place. I don't know if you've ever been, but anyway, and one of the artists there, and I'm terrible with names, but anyway, is amazing. Sean, I think. Brought to explain what he did. He brought onto stage a rubber plant, and he said, "I create soundscapes from the plant." He attaches electrodes to the different leaves, and then as he approaches the plant or touches different parts of the plant, or even not even necessarily touching it, it changes the energy coming from the plant, which is then translated into sound.
Wow.
Absolutely unbelievable. The entire audience, he said, "Oh, you can all come up and try it. Just don't stress the plant, right?" And it was just, nobody could believe it. It was like, I've never seen anything like it.
Nature's orchestra.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really. I'll send you a link if you remind me to it. And because he tours around doing it, and this is his, talk about a weird niche, but it's a
Yeah.
So he's proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that plants can interact with life forms.
Absolutely. Our friend Joey, he's got a brand called Natural Symphony, and he plays music with plants. We should get him on the podcast, actually. And I think I saw him on This Morning or GMTV or some mainstream channel anyway recently. So it just goes to show that people are really waking up to the potency of the natural world.
It was Joey.
Oh,
It was Joey.
oh, we're speaking about the same person.
I don't know why I thought it was Sean.
Let's do one.
Joey. What's his second?
I can't remember, but he's London born, lives here. Yeah, let's get him on.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Have you got the email address?
Yeah, I got his number. Yeah, we'll.
All right, just
friend.
really tap him up. Anyway, sorry about
Absolutely.
I'm doing business in the middle of our.
Meeting goes on SoundPower.
It's all good.
We're all part of this.
Lovely conversation.
I
I realized like-minded people. Sorry, Joe.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I would love to ask you something quite personal, I guess, that I think that our network of sound healers would love to get your insight on. And I know that from what I've heard your music, Martin sent it to us before, and I know from what you've said that it feels like when you channel music or when you create it, you're broadcasting from beyond Earth, which makes your voice somewhat of like a conduit or a channel or a vessel. So in your experience, do you feel like your music that you transmit to us is like a transmission from elsewhere? And does the music kind of come through you rather than from you? And if so, how do you feel that you could maybe encourage other sound enthusiasts and budding sounders and musicians who so want to connect to the infinite, the creator of source that's all around us, to be able to create music that isn't just coming from maybe their own limited capacity, but from the divine?
Well, I definitely think that it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's for sure. It's not coming from me. I think that's called battery healing, and that's extremely draining if that's what one is doing. Well, this is what I learned in my training. And I've found that in my experience, if I don't tune in properly, then that can happen, and you end up giving a lot of your own energy, which that's not the intention, because my energy is not that great anyway. Like, you know, if I can channel from somewhere else, which is much higher and much better, and you know, and infinite, I've got a use by date, but you know, they don't. So it's so much better. And what I have a natural tendency, because sometimes if I'm doing some healing, what will happen is that I find different energies come in. So sometimes it's suddenly cold, sometimes it's suddenly warm. And I find that when the warmth comes in, that's from like the more earthly chakras, which I'm sure you know what they are. When the energy is cold, that's when the sort of the more otherworldly energy is coming in. But that's stronger. And it does sound mad, but we have proven now that there is life on other planets. There at least has been life on Mars, and you know, this is an established fact now, whereas 20 years ago people thought it was a mad idea. So we are moving in that direction as we're progressing. And if people are wanting to get into healing, I would really encourage them to get some formal training, because I think it's good to have, you know, an experienced hand guiding you, because there is, you know, you open yourself up, and it can be dangerous as well. You know, it can harm your spirit a little bit, or you know, it's good to be encouraged in the right way, I think.
Wow, that was profound.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because we're, of course, also advocates for making sure people are professionally trained. And that was going to be my next question. Do you feel that in your personal experience, it was somewhat of a natural gift? You know, how some people are just born into these incredibly gifted abilities, or do you feel that in your case it was honed and trained? And can other people learn this skill too, to be able to channel through different layers of reality?
I don't know if I had any real. Oh, I must have. I remember being a child and sort of being able to see, having a lot of empathy for people, which I couldn't really see that in other kids. I mean, I did go to a nunnery, you know, for a school, so we were taught spiritual discipline, and you know, 12 o'clock, stop everything, get up and pray. And, you know, so I learned the discipline of spirituality, let's call it. But in the same breath.
Are you religious now?
I wouldn't say that I'm religious. I would say I'm mystical, that I'm very interested in all religions. I mean, technically I'm Greek Orthodox, but am I? I mean, you know, I'm
Sorry, I'm
spiritual, and you know, all of that. So I'm more of a true mystic, I would say. But I'm very, very interested in all religions. I think they are saying the same thing in a different poetic format. It's almost like, you know, the Bible is a very long poem, you know, and I think people can look at that and judge it, you know, the way they do any art form.
Wow.
There are other religions that have similarly, you know, religious texts that we might not agree with everything, but do we always agree with everything? I think they're fundamentally saying the same thing. I think they're all sort of utilitarian, and they want more goodness than badness.
Yeah.
It's very
But
basic, but they all say that in a different way.
I would put a giant caveat on that. But anyway, because, everything, all poetry, all religious prose can be interpreted in many different ways, unfortunately. And
But that's what creates all the divisions and the fanaticism and the fundamentalism, and people get very high on their own interpretation of what is fundamentally maybe trying to say the same thing.
what are you classically trained musically?
Mm.
So what level? I mean, what piano presumably is it? Or
Yeah, I grew up playing piano, and then I studied composition
right?
in Melbourne.
Have you ever done any orchestral stuff?
I've got a kind of, my next album is quite cinematic, sort of, and my first album does have sort of string arrangements and horn arrangements. So it does have that sort of influence.
Where can we find your previous work?
My previous work is probably on Discogs. My current album, 2 singles are out on digitally, so they're on the digital platforms like Spotify.
Right. And the original work you did was under your name rather than Sophia?
Yeah, the first album is under the Melpomeni name, and that's called 8 Tragedies, 2 Love Songs and a Breakdown. A title.
Let's talk about emotion in composition. So what I've been so impressed with working with you on the piece of music we've been doing is how intrinsically very smartly musically all is, and how emotional it's like film soundtracks for a very emotional science fiction film, to me. And I think that's probably your intention, but it's
Amazing, yeah. Anyone out there?
I know. Well, you never know. You might get syncs for something. I mean, it's very syncable.
Yeah.
stuff if you get the right agency. Is that an intention of yours? I mean, are you an emotional person, would you say?
It's not really intentional, but everything I do always ends up getting synced, funnily enough. And the next album, most of which is done, called Gone Left, that's about a whole other thing. That is quite emotional and cinematic.
Right.
This is more electronic and lots of vocals and layers and ambient.
Yeah.
But it's not really an intention. I think it's just my style. I don't, some people think that, we need to move on from emotional music, that it's kind of a bit sentimental, old-fashioned.
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
That's a really dystopian vision.
Yeah. What is music if it isn't emotional? I wouldn't know what would be left.
Yeah.
Well, some people think it should all just come from the brain, I guess, but maybe that's liberating in some ways.
Well,
Did you want to add something?
yeah, it's interesting you should say that, Odila, because I'm researching and considering that a lot at the moment, actually, because I take your point around the main gist of what you just said, but and I think you're probably right. I think there is an area where emotions are being slightly cast aside, but slightly dismissed. And I can hear it in a lot of current trends, the few that I do hear. And it is interesting, therefore, its impact upon society, generally moving on from just music, its function and use. So it's very interesting that you pinpointed that as a thing, because as I said, it's very prevalent in my mind, just observing what is actually going on within general society. And I'm probably a bit more with Marden actually on this. There's, for me, without a judgment, it is a little bit worrying if we do separate our emotions, and particularly as Cherub then intimates, the one thing about music is that it really can feed us emotionally. So then perhaps the large question, of which I have no answer, is, so what happens to society if they don't have a thirst and a hunger for emotion? Where does this frigidity of ice lead us? Quite interesting. Whereas obviously we know music can bring us together, but anyway, so I'm interested to hear more if you could expound on that more.
Yeah. Well, there's different reasons why we listen to music. So sometimes we might listen to music to forget something, or we might, I think they're all valid, by the way. My stance is that music, emotional music, great, cerebral music, great. And also the development of composition. I think when composers like Schoenberg came along, and there was no scale anymore, it was abstract. I think there's something in that, because it created a new sound. And then you can combine that with emotional sounds and less emotional sounds. So you've got more to play with. But I think sometimes just listening to music for the mind serves its purpose too. I mean, I like both. I mostly like, I guess, music that has feeling in it. But then there's also, as we're expanding, and we need to talk about, the idea of transcendence. What are we transcending? Are we transcending our emotions? Because that's what we feel incarnating as humans. I think part of our lesson is, well, this is the Buddhist belief, to feel everything and then to let it go.
Interesting. Right, this leads me on to drone music and systems music, like Philip Glass and Steve Reich, and the whole thing about repetition, which is very, very easy to achieve with contemporary music making, electronic music making. And so it's become a bit of a kind of, I think, a banal trope to have just continual kind of sequences repeating and mutating. And it's like, originally it was really incredible, like I remember hearing Philip Glass for the first time and thinking, this is incredible. Then I went to see him perform, and Koyaanisqatsi, the film, and all that stuff was incredible. Then I went to see him perform live at the South Bank, and he had like 3 different keyboard players, all playing the sequences live, and I'm going, well, what's the bloody point in that? I mean, it looks good, but it's like you're going da 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 da, all these different time signatures and everything. And this poor bastard was trying to keep up with it all. It was like math rock here, really. And I just thought, it was almost like, like the worst excesses of jazz is about showing off your virtuosity, I think. Whereas the best version of jazz is people like Miles Davis, who are only interested in melody and tonality. What do you think about that?
Oh, I know Tim will have something to say. I can see he's literally jumping off his seat, ready to comment on this one.
Well, would you like our guest to answer first, or would you like to say something?
Yes, Mel.
I agree that sometimes watching people indulge their instrument for too long, not really where my ears are aiming to listen. It's my least It's one of my least favorite things as well. But I think jazz is about tonality because it's in the scale.
No, kind of how I've been timbre, really.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Can I jump in for a sec? Mentioned Miles. I mean, Miles for me is very emotional, actually. Highly dramatic. Put that akin to Jackson Pollock as a painter. You know, one can say yes, it's a functional thing of, you know, a flick of the wrist, but it's actually very emotional. Its end result. Then going back to what you were talking about, Schoenberg, Second Viennese School. Schoenberg, I found something like Their Quiet Night is actually a very emotional piece of music. I mean, there is actually beautiful, rich harmonies in there. There's a certain melodic context. I know that might have come by chance. But likewise, all the Second Viennese School, even Webern, Wozzeck, I mean, is an highly. But I think our guest is frozen. Oh, can you hear? Are you there?
Yeah, it's okay.
Back to Schoenberg.
But so
Emotion in it.
and so that's obviously of that era. And bear in mind that Schoenberg was a totally devotee of Gustav Mahler, who was like probably the emotional classical composer on the platforms these days. But moving on, your point, I do take your point actually with contemporary classical music, which I do sometimes witness. And let's say out of 10, 2 can really strike you very, you know, there's something about them. But there does seem to be, I've got to be careful how I say this. It's almost, I mean, as Marlin says, it's almost an excuse where we're delivering these mechanical forms of sound and rhythm and whatever. And one has to question what meaning does that have? Then coming into Cherub and our specific field, one of the main raison d'etre of our work is intention. What is the intention of the production of the sound, the tone? What is the effect that's going to have on the listener? And there is always, I would hope and believe personally for me, this interrelationship between the music creator provider and the listener. And what in terms are you feeding them? Because as we know, music is a deliverance of a great communication. I mean, it is the most extraordinary language in the universe. And that says it all, the universe, the one song that surrounds us. And when we talk about Earth, of course, we are a speck of dust on a leaf in the Amazon rainforest, combined with the scope of what the constellations surround us are cosmically at scale. So it is, I mean, you can hear it stimulating me because I think it's a huge topic, actually, where we are all going, both societally, emotionally, and particularly with our particular subject, the arts and music that we're talking about, where both that is being led, where our position is, and what do we need. I mean, I will conclude because I can see I'm sort of feel myself climbing on a soapbox. But if you know, I mean, obviously, I don't know. I mean, I think Marty's younger than me, actually, but obviously I remember the 60s. I remember the Beatles, you know, and the whole, the essence of what the music and the words said. And that's the last word I've just said is the expression. It spoke to people. It spoke to people from the age of probably 2 to 102. And there was something in that message which in itself links into the true essence of the human spirit and need, because I sense to a degree, and this is where the big question and where we could have a big discussion on this, do we not all require the essence of feeling and of love and of emotion? And if that dissipates and disappears, and again, I pose the question, where does that lead us society-wise?
God almighty, that's an entire episode on its own.
That's right. And it's not to dismiss abstract forms. I mean, I used to love, and this ages me, 50, 60 years ago, I heard Stockhausen, and for me, even to this day, but it was a cosmic journey which really did take you to the planets. And my experience recently, and I can say that I do wear these shoes, I do go to the Barbican and hear various contemporary works. A lot of what I'm now hearing at this present time, I sit there and think, well, Stockhausen did this 60, 70 years ago. What's new? And in fact, he did it better.
Yeah.
There is a point when we also have to look at the quality of our delivery of the communication, as opposed to just the excuse that this is an art form. It's a bit like, I'm going to conclude. Cherd knows this thing. I once went to Sports Direct, and I bought whatever I bought, and the guy just said, "Here you go," and it wasn't like, "Thank you, sir. Hope you enjoy." Here you go, and it's that dismissive thing. So as I said, big questions. So this is very.
We shall develop these things in future episodes, I think. So just to wrap it up, because I'm aware we're running out of time, there are some questions I'm going to ask all the guests. So let's get down to those. What is your favorite natural sound?
I really like the sound of rain. Really gentle rain. That's one of my favorites. And
Environment, indoors, outdoors, in a forest.
well, yeah, I think rain, I like it anywhere. It's just really kind of, there's lots of it and it's really quiet. It's like light, they say, because I really like lots of dim light. I think I've even got my candles on now, new mirror.
Yeah.
So lots of dim light, creates really beautiful light. And I think lots of really quiet sounds create a lovely sound. So I like that drizzling, that light rain.
The best ever. I was lucky enough to go to a retreat, a lodge in the middle of the Peruvian rainforest, where there were no walls, so all the insects and animals could come into the room at night, and it's incredible. And but when it rained, when you're actually just outside in the forest, it was like, well, I'm obsessed with 3D sound, right? So it's like pointillist 3D painting for me as a synesthete, Anyway, yes, anyway.
But also on a tin roof. That's an Aussie thing. Definitely an Aussie thing. It reminds me of my mum's house, and it makes me feel a bit like.
Absolutely. Okay, which kind of music do you find, or which, you might even want to go into an individual piece, but maybe that's better actually. Which is there a piece of music where you were witnessing it and you thought, this this is transcendental for me? It puts me into an entirely different frame of mind. I'll give you an example. In the opera Yenufa by Janacek, there's a part, and I can't remember. I think it's about 2/3 of the way through, and it's the swelling of the orchestra and the storyline and everything just came to this point, and it was just. Honestly, I just broke down and cried. It was so unbelievably transcendent,
Was Barbican with Simon Rattle? You've just been to it.
What's that?
I heard the Barbican recently.
No, this was probably 25 years ago.
I wish I'd gone now then, because he was doing it about a month
Oh,
ago.
it's incredible. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Is there anything that is similar for you in any, or has ever happened to you like that?
Lots of times. But it's interesting, this idea of transcendence and emotional intensity.
Yes.
And detachment, complete detachment. Because like in meditation, you detach, you transcend.
Yeah.
In healing as well, different states of that when you give healing. But also, opera is extremely intense emotionally. And yet it gives that feeling of transcendence. And then other pieces of transcendental music are very unemotional. And then there's, all the whole cerebral thing. So my position is a bit of everything, whatever
Right.
you feel free to take at any time or create at any time. But pieces of music, for different reasons, like quite a lot. I like a lot of the Japanese ambient music.
Right.
Some stuff by Hiroshi Yoshimura, I don't know if you know him.
I can't spell it, let alone.
Takamitsu November Steps, beautiful as well.
Right. And all this is good for tips for the listeners, you know. Yeah.
What else? There's there's so many. Ruichi Sakamoto.
Of course. Beautiful.
Brian Eno's Apollo has some really beautiful transcendental pieces. I think Understars is one of my favorites, and Signals.
I shall tell him when I next see him. Just I drop that in.
Tell him yourself when we all get him on SoundPower.
I was trying to get him on Electron as the organizer. He agreed to do it 3 times and it never happened.
He'll.
He's a nice guy. He's a lovely guy. But it's
Tiny.
quite hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Meredith Monk.
Okay. What, do you know her?
I've learned with her. She's amazing visionary. She has moments of real transcendence.
Beautiful. Okay. Final question. What's your biggest hope for the future?
That is a very big question.
Wait, let's confine it to, say, your career.
Oh, okay. I just would like to take it as far as it can go. I don't have any specific things that I would like to happen. I've learned to just open up, you know, what my lessons are, what I'm here to learn, and take it as far as it can. Because it would be good if lots of people could listen to what I'm doing. But if they don't, if that's not what is meant for me, then that's okay, and I'll just do as well as I can. Yeah.
We've had some discussions about this. It's beautiful in theory, but we've got to make sure more people hear what you're doing.
Okay, I've upgraded from my last mug.
What's it say?
Can you see it?
Diva.
Love it. In gold too.
You need what?
That's energy.
You need that diva energy to get the word out to the general public.
Yeah, I'd like to take it as far as it can go, for sure. You know.
I think that's a very humble desire, and knowing how high you can touch the stars and the cosmos with your work, I think the width and breadth and scope of your music can be infinite, just like your performance ability.
Yay! Well said.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay. That's it for today. I shall see you very soon to finish our work.
Yes, and I hope to meet you, Cherub, soon. And
Yeah.
Oh, we should arrange a lunch maybe or something.
yeah, let's do that.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
All right, thank
Bye.